Hello, I am Ashish Arora. I work as Senior Scientist at the Molecular and Structural Biology Division at CSIR, Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow. I present to you Paper 8, Medical Physics, Module 27, Methods of Multidimensional NMR for Biomolecular Structure Determination, Part 1. The objective of this module is to tell you the definition of triple nuclear three-dimensional NMR experiments for studying protein structures, and to tell you what are the steps involved in structure determination, how do we prepare isotopically labeled protein samples, what is the theory and relevance of the 2D N15 proton HSQC experiment, what is the mathematical theory of an HNCA experiment, which is a three-dimensional triple nuclear experiment, how is an HNCA experiment analyzed for sequential assignments, what other 3D triple nuclear experiments are utilized for sequential assignments. A flowchart for protein structure determination by NMR spectroscopy is shown in this figure. First, we have protein sample preparation for NMR, then we have NMR data collection and its processing. We have resonance assignment for backbone and side chain. Then we have calculation of structural constraints. We have torsional angle, interproton distances and hydrogen bonds. These are all put in for structural calculation and structural refinement in explicit solvent by using computational methods. And then we have structural validation, and finally the structure is deposited in protein data bank. Preparation of isotopically labeled protein sample. Here I should clarify that the isotopes are not radioisotopes but stable NMR active isotopes N15 and C13, which have a spin quantum number I of half. Preparation of isotopically labeled protein sample is done with preparation of N15 labeled and C13 N15 double labeled protein sample. Preparation of deuterated C13 N15 triple labeled protein samples is also done for larger proteins, and in this case we have labeling of methyl groups with protons for the isoleucine, leucine and valine methyls. This is done by addition of alpha keto isovalerate, which have delta and gamma methyl of leucine and valine, and alpha keto isobutyrate, which labels the methyl group of delta methyl groups of isoleucine. So, you have protonated methyl groups of isoleucine, leucine and valine if you add alpha keto isovalerate and alpha keto isobutyrate, which are very specifically labeled in the media for which ingredients have been added for triple labeling of the NMR protein, which means deuterium, C13 and N15 labeling. We have stereo array isotope labeling. We have specific N15 amino acid labeling, such that we can label only the alanines in the protein with N15 or the leucines or the valines. And then we have segmental labeling of proteins. In segmental labeling, a small fragment of the protein is labeled and then it's inserted back into the protein by chemical methods or by intine. 2D N15 proton HSQC experiment. This is an indirect detection NMR experiment, two-dimensional experiment, which correlates the amide N15 chemical shift with the amide proton chemical shift, so that the N and H are linked by a single bond. For mathematical understanding, a simple form of the pulse sequence for 2D N15 proton HSQC experiment is presented as is shown in the figure. you have various pulses on the I channel, which is the proton channel, and the S channel, which is the N15 channel. You have a period T1 where the chemical shift of S nuclei is labeled, and you have a period T2 where the chemical shift of I is labeled. During the T2 period, the S spin is decoupled. This experiment correlates the N15 chemical shift of an amide group with the chemical shift of the directly linked proton. The phase cycling is phi 1 is equal to x minus x, phi 2 is equal to 2x and 2 minus x, phi 3 is equal to 4y, 4 minus y, and the receiver has 2x minus x minus x and x. The evolution of magnetization can be followed through the product operator analysis for this particular experiment. Here I should tell you that such kind of analysis has a lot of mathematical expression, and they are actually very easy to follow and they contain a lot of information. If we start with Iz, then an inept, as we can see in the pulse sequence, generates minus 2 Iz Sy. The period T1 by 2 pi Ix T1 by 2 has a 180 degree pulse only on the I spin. The magnetization evolves only under omega S Sz T1 Hamiltonian and is independent of omega I Iz T1 and 2 pi Jis Iz Sz T1 Hamiltonians. So, minus 2 I Z Sy, and you have pi by Ix and other Hamiltonian of omega S Sz T1, and you get 2 Iz Sy cos omega S T1 minus 2 Iz Sx sin omega S T1. The 90 degree X pulses on I and S, the magnetization do the following. You have pi by 2 Ix and Sx, and you get minus 2 Iy Sz cos omega S T1 plus 2 Iy Sx sin omega S T1. The multiple quantum coherence term 2 Iy Sx is not modulated by chemical shift or scalar coupling Hamiltonians and is unobservable, and we proceed only with the single quantum term minus 2 Iy Sz. In the following tau 180 degree Ix plus Sx tau sequence, the 2 Is Iz Sz tau 180 degree Ix plus Sx 2 Jis Iz Sz tau Hamiltonian is active. Since both I and S spins are pulsed, there is no net evolution under the chemical shift Hamiltonians of both I and S. Therefore, after 2 tau, the magnetization is given by the following expression, such that finally we have minus 2 Iy Sz cos pi Jis 2 tau minus Ix sin pi Jis 2 tau. Both of them are multiplied by cos omega S T1 minus 2 Iy Sx sin omega S T1. For 2 tau is equal to 1 by 2 Jis, the only term that contributes to the observable signal is minus Ix cos omega S T1. During the detection period, the heteronuclei is decoupled and the magnetization is modulated only with omega I Iz T2, resulting in phase peaks in both F1 and F2 dimensions. Let us now look at 2D N15 proton HSQC spectrum of N15 labeled C. elegans glia maturation factor, which is written as CEGMF. C. elegans is a model nematode organism. It consists of an actin filaments debranching protein known as glia maturation factor or GMF. CEGMF is a monomeric protein of 138 residues, of which 6 are prolines. The two-dimensional N15 proton HSQC spectrum of CEGMF was acquired at 298 Kelvin, which is 25 degrees centigrade, on Bruker Evans 3 800 megahertz NMR spectrometer by using a cryoprobe. Dispersed peaks were observed in the spectrum, which suggests that this protein is well folded in solution and exists in monomeric form. 2D N15 proton HSQC spectrum of N15 labeled CEGMF is shown in this figure. Normally, from 7 to 8.5 ppm, you get signals for the alpha helical regions of the protein, and the spread beyond this region indicates significant beta sheet character in the protein. The red colored peaks come from the correlation of HN, NN as schematically shown with a double direction arrow in the figure. The green peaks are often in pairs, and these come from the side chains CONH2 groups of asparagine and glutamine. Now, after looking at the 2D NMR experiment, we move to the 3D HNCA experiment. The 3D HNCA experiment is a basic triple nuclear experiment for correlations of H, N and C alpha chemical shifts along the backbone. The H and N comes from the amide, and the N is linked to C alpha. This experiment provides the fundamentals for the sequential assignments of backbone residues. In this experiment, magnetization is transferred from proton to its directly attached N15 of the amide, and then via the N-C alpha J coupling to the C13 alpha I and C13 alpha I minus 1, and then again back to N15 and proton for detection. How the magnetization is transferred from N to C alpha I and also to C alpha I minus 1 will be explained in the next few slides. Since the amide nitrogen is coupled both to the C alpha of its own residue and that of the preceding residue, both these transfers occur and peaks for both C alpha are visible in the spectrum. However, the coupling to the directly bonded C alpha 1J and C alpha is around 11 Hz, and this is stronger than the scalar coupling to the preceding C alpha. 2J and C alpha is around 7 Hz, and thus the former peaks appear with greater intensity in the spectrum. The pulse sequence of 3D HNCA is shown. Now you can see that there are various channels. We have at the top the proton channels. The thin bars are 90-degree pulses and the thick bars are 180-degree pulses. We have the N15 channel, so that the first step is inept transfer from proton to N15, and then we have the transfer from N15 to C13 alpha on the carbon channel, and we also have a fourth channel of carbonyl to decouple the C13 alpha C13 carbonyl coupling. We also have gradients which have not been shown in this figure as it is kept simple for calculations. And there is this basic HNCA pulse sequence. The phase cycling is phi 1 is x minus x, phi 2 is y minus y, phi 3 is 2x, 2 minus x, phi 4 is 4x, 4y, 4 minus x and 4 minus y, and the receiver phase is kept as x minus x minus x, x minus x, x, x minus x. Now, from here to next few slides, we will look at the mathematics of how the HNCA pulse sequence works and what different information we get at different positions and what information we get ultimately at the end of the experiment. The different regions are put in blocks and they are colored pink, and as you can see that there are labels A, B, C, D and so on and so forth, and the magnetization at various positions is described. At time A, 2 tau is equal to 1 by 2 JNH results in pure antiphase N15 magnetization minus 2 HIZ and IY. So, sigma A is equal to minus 2 Hz Ny. During T1, the Ny magnetization is frequency labeled. The term 2HZNX is phase cycled out. So, we have 2HZNY under omega n and z T1, and we get minus 2HZNY cos omega n T1 plus 2HZNX sin omega n T1. Therefore, sigma B is equal to minus 2HZ Ny cos omega n T1. The sigma B is the density operator at sigma at the position B in the pulse sequence. Now, we move further in the pulse sequence. The chemical shift of N15, C13 carbonyl and the amide proton are refocused by 180-degree pulse at the center of the period 2 delta plus T2 for each spin. Therefore, the active Hamiltonians are 2 pi Hz Nz 1j NH delta and 2 pi Nz C alpha I Z and 1j N C alpha delta and 2 pi Nz C alpha I minus 1 Z 2j N C alpha delta. Using 2 pi j NH delta in place of 2 pi Hz Nz 1j NH delta for simplicity, we have minus 2 Hz Ny cos omega n T1. Then you have the various expressions, and this yields you minus 2 Hz Ny cos omega n T1 cos pi j NH delta, for delta is equal to k by j NH and k is equal to 1, 2 or 3. And then you have various expressions which give you minus 2 Hz Ny cos omega n T1 cos pi j n delta cos pi 1j n C alpha I delta plus 4 Hz Nx C alpha I Z cos omega n T1 cos pi j n delta sin pi 1j n C alpha I delta. And then this further you have the Hamiltonian of 2 pi j n C alpha I minus 1 delta, and this increases the term as you can see in the figure. The double and quadruple quantum terms 2Hz Ny and 8Hz Nx C alpha I Z C alpha I minus 1 Z are removed by phase cycling the next 90-degree pulse on C13. We can define coherence transfer functions tau 1 and tau 2 as tau 1 delta is equal to sin pi 1j n C alpha I delta multiplied by cos pi 2j n C alpha I minus 1 delta, and tau 2 delta is equal to cos pi 1j n C alpha I delta multiplied with sin pi 2j n C alpha I minus 1 delta. Therefore, the magnetization at point C is given by sigma C is equal to 4 Hz Nx C alpha I Z tau 1 delta plus 4 Hz Nx C alpha I minus 1 Z tau 2 delta, both of which terms are multiplied with cos omega n T1 cos pi j NH delta. The optimum value of delta is 22 millisecond, which is equal to 2 divided by j NH, and also gives a maxima for tau k cos pi j NH delta, where k is equal to 1 or 2. We continue further in the pulse sequence. The 90-degree pulses applied to both proton and C13 create triple quantum coherence of the type Hy Nx Cy, and sigma d is given by 4 Hy Nx C alpha I Y tau 1 delta plus 4 hy nx c alpha I minus 1 y tau 2 delta. Both of these terms are multiplied by cos omega n t1 cos pi j nh delta. During the subsequent evolution period T2, the Cy magnetization can be frequency labeled by omega c Cz T2. The evolution time T2 is kept typically about 8 to 10 milliseconds. At the end of T2, the coherence is given by sigma E is equal to 4 hy nx c alpha I y cos omega c I alpha T2 tau 1 delta plus 4 hy nx c alpha I minus 1 y cos omega c alpha I minus 1 T2 multiplied by tau 2 delta, and all these terms are multiplied by theta, where theta is equal to cos omega n t1 cos pi j nh delta, and the sign modulation terms are phased cycle out. The terms of interest 2hz and y are phase selected while the rest are cycled out. We have multiple number of terms which are by application of pi by 2 hx, pi by 2 cx, then you have the 2 pi j nh delta term, then you have 2 pi 1 j n c alpha I delta, and you have 2 pi 2 j n c alpha I minus 1 delta Hamiltonians, so that you get a lot number of terms. The reverse inept sequence transfers the magnetization back to the 1hn spin for detection. For 2 tau is equal to 1 by 2 jnh, the coherence at the position f is given by sigma f is equal to hx curly brackets cos omega c alpha I t2 tau 1 square delta plus cos omega c alpha I minus 1 t2 tau 2 whole square delta curly bracket closed, and all these terms multiplied by cos omega n t1 and cos square pi j nh delta cos pi j c alpha c beta t2. So, again we have the pulse sequence there. During the acquisition period, the Hx magnetization is frequency labeled with proton chemical shifts and detected. Each peak detected through the proton is frequency labeled with omega h, omega n and omega Ca, and also omega Ca I minus 1. To each set of amide H and N residue shifts of residue I, 2 different Ca or C alpha chemical shifts would be observed, C alpha I and C alpha I minus 1. Now, all this mathematics is very important to understand, and one should not fear this, but one should try to understand it in the best possible way through practice. However, the experimental result of the HNCA can be very simply illustrated schematically as is shown. Consider a set of 3 residues identified by labels I plus 1, I and I minus 1. The schematic HNCA spectrum would be a 3D spectrum as indicated, and it is also color coded. I plus 1 you can see in blue, I you see in red, and I minus 1 you see in green. There are 3 axes, one is labeled as proton, the other is labeled as N15, and the third is labeled as C13. So that each peak has 3 coordinates, a proton chemical shift coordinate, an N15 chemical shift coordinate, and a C13 chemical shift coordinate. Next slide please. First, we cut a plane at the desired N15 chemical shift. From this plane, we cut a small strip with the proton frequency at the center, and this is illustrated in the figure. You see the 3-dimensional figure which has a square in broken line. This is the plane that you cut out, and so in this plane you get the red peak out. And when you get these red peaks out, as is shown in the middle figure, then you have to mention at what N15 ppm it was cut. Now, this is a two-dimensional spectrum of proton and C13. And where you see two peaks, one strong one and one weak one, there you cut a strip next to the proton chemical shift, so that you get a very thin strip, and this thin strip has a N15 chemical shift. Right in the center on horizontal axis you have the proton chemical shift, while on the vertical axis, which is the C13 chemical shift axis, you see two different peaks, one stronger and one weaker. Actually, then what we do is that we match the peaks in the strips and line them up from right to left in residue position. This kind of representation is called as the strip plot, and when we look at the real data, we will be looking at real data in this form, in the form of strip plots. So, now as you can see that we have cut various planes, and from the planes we have cut the strips. Now, when we put the strips next to each other, then they have, first of all, the strips have different N15 chemical shifts, N15 Ni I plus 1, then you have Ni, and then you have N15 I minus 1. N15 I plus 1 shown in blue, strong peak which comes from the C alpha I plus 1, the weak peak which comes from C alpha I, and then you have the next strip in which you have red strong peak which comes from C alpha I, because this strip corresponds to Hi and N15I, and then you have a weak peak which corresponds to Hi, N15I and C13 alpha I minus 1. Then this weak red peak leads you to the green peak, and this green peak has coordinates Hi minus 1 and I minus 1 and C alpha I minus 1, but then it leads to a weaker peak which has coordinates Hi minus 1, Ni minus 1 and C13 alpha I minus 2, and that is how we make sequential assignment or sequential walk through these various strips. So, the strip plot for the segment L32 to I36 of HNCA experiment for CEGMF is shown in this figure. On the right side, the rightmost strip is from I136, which is taken at an N15 chemical shift of 119.92, and you see two peaks. The bottom peak is labeled with CAI36, its own C alpha, and the upper peak is labeled as CAK35, which is the C alpha of the preceding residues. Then it is matched to the next strip, that is of K35. This is taken at N15 ppm of 119.77 and a proton frequency of proton chemical shift of 8.99 pm. Here you see the C alpha chemical shift of K35, and then a lower chemical shift, lower peak, which corresponds to C alpha chemical shift of the preceding residue, which is L34. In the next strip, you have the C alpha chemical shift of L34 and then a lower peak which corresponds to C alpha of the preceding residue, which is I33. Then we find the C alpha of I33. This corresponds to an N15 chemical shift plane of 126.85 ppm and a proton chemical shift of 8.98 ppm. And then on top of the C alpha of I33, we have C alpha of L32, and from this L32 we find the matching strip for L32 C alpha and then its preceding strip, which preceding peak, which is C alpha of A31. So, the figure A actually shows you magnetization transfer pattern in HNC experiment, and you can see that the atoms are schematically drawn and colored also, so that going from Hn to N and then from N to its own C alpha and from N to the preceding C alpha. This is your HNCA experiment, and in figure B you have the strip plots as I have just described. So, it is very important to look at various scalar couplings in polypeptides. The triple resonance NMR experiments correlate backbone, proton, N15, H alpha, C13 alpha and carbonyl spins using scalar coupling interactions. The typical 1, 2 and 3 bond scalar couplings in polypeptides are as follows. In this figure, what you can see is that the coupling between H and its directly bonded N of the amide is around 92 Hertz, N to C alpha of its own residue is 11 Hertz, whereas 2 bond coupling of N to the C alpha of preceding residue is around 7 Hertz. Then you have N to the preceding carbonyl, which is around 15 Hertz, and you have C alpha to C beta, which is around 35 Hertz. You have C alpha to CO, which is around 55 Hertz. And these various couplings can be used for magnetization transfer. In the 3 bond coupling range, you have the HN to H alpha, which is between 1 to 10 Hertz, and from H alpha to H beta, which is between 2 to 14 Hertz. Next. Now, protein backbone assignment. The complete and unambiguous assignment of backbone and side chain resonance are obtained by separate set of heteronuclear double and triple nuclear NMR experiments. NMR assignment experiments employ sequential walk through the backbone. The miraculous couplings that connect 2 consecutive amino acids are the 1J NC alpha and 2J NC alpha couplings. The 1J NC alpha is between the N and its own C alpha, and the 2J is a 2 bond between N and C alpha of the preceding residue. Any transfer sequence going in one or both directions involving the NC alpha coupling will result in resonances that are linked sequentially. While a transfer sequence not utilizing this company, for example, HNCO experiment, does not link consecutive residues but may provide some other interesting information. The 3D HNCA-CB experiment. The magnetization is transferred from proton to N15 and via the NC alpha J coupling to the C13 alpha I and C13 alpha I minus 1, and then from C alpha to the C beta, also C alpha I minus 1 to C beta I minus 1, and back again from the C betas, C alphas to N15 and from N15 to hydrogen for detection. For each NH group, there are 2 C alpha and 2 C beta peaks. One set of C alpha and C beta have higher intensity and correlate NH to intra-residue C alpha and C beta. The second set of C alpha and C beta have lower intensity and represent correlation of NH2 to the C alpha and C beta for the preceding residue. Because of one extra transfer step, the phases of C alpha are inverted with respect to C beta. The magnetization transfer is shown schematically as Hn to Ni, and from Ni to alpha C alpha I, and from C alpha I to C beta I, also from Ni to C alpha I minus 1, and from there to C beta I minus 1 and back. Now, we look at the 3D CBCA bracket CO bracket closed NH experiment. When we put any atom into the bracket, it means that we are not doing chemical shift labeling for that atom which is joined in the sequence. The magnetization is transferred from proton H alpha and proton H beta to C13 alpha and C13 beta respectively, and then from C13 beta to C13 alpha. It is then transferred first to the C13 carbonyl and then to succeeding N15H and then to the proton for detection. Thus, for each NH group, there are 1 C alpha and 1 C beta peaks visible for the preceding residue. This experiment correlates the chemical shifts of HI, NI with C alpha I minus 1 and C beta I minus 1. The C alpha I minus 1 and C beta I minus 1 peaks have same phase. The pathway is one directional, HA, HB to CA, CB to CO and then to N and H. And in this pathway, the chemical shifts are labeled for C betas, C alphas, not for the carbonyl and then for the nitrogen and proton. Now, the strip plots and the schematic representation for segment I33 and L34 of CB, CA, CONH and HNCA-CB experiments are shown. The strip plots are on the right and the schematic for CB, CA, CONH is on the top and HNCA-CB is on the bottom, represented by figures A and B. So, as you see in figure A, magnetization is going from the H betas NH alpha to C beta C alpha, from there to the carbonyl, from carbonyl to the directly attached N and from N to its H. That is how it is detected in a single direction. Whereas, in the case of HNCA-CB, you have magnetization starting at HN, then going to its directly attached nitrogen, from nitrogen the usual going to C alpha I and C alpha I minus 1 of its own and preceding C alphas, and then from C alphas going to C betas and back. And now you can see the correlations in the figure labeled as L34 at N15 chemical shift of 128.24 and proton chemical shift of 9.54. There are 2 carbon peaks labeled red and 2 shown in green. The stronger red peak gives you the C alpha CAL34 and the weaker is the preceding CA I33. This is what we also see in the HNC experiment. The new information in the HNCA-CB experiment is the CB of L34, which comes around 48, and CB of I33, which comes around 37 ppm. Now, from these we see the preceding residues. So, the CB I33 matches the CB beta in the next strip of I33. So, these strips are labeled as alternately CBCA-CONH, HNCA-CB, CBCA-CONH, HNCA-CB for the residue I33 and L34. In the second strip that you see I33 at N15 chemical shift of 126.85, you see at the bottom 2 red peaks. The stronger peak is the lowest and is labeled as CA I33. On top of that you have CA of L32, which is preceding I33, and then you again see 2 peaks in green. The stronger one is the C beta of I33 and the weaker one is C beta of the preceding residue, which is L32. Now, in the CBCA-CONH, which is shown as adjacent strips to the HNCA-CB, for L34 you can see that there are no peaks that correspond to L34, but you have the C alpha and C beta peaks that correspond to C alpha I33 and C beta I33, and both of these peaks have the same phase, that means same color red. And similar thing you see in the CBCA-CONH strip of I33. In it you do not see peaks for I33, but for C alpha of L32, which is the preceding residue, and C beta of L32, again both of them are having the same phase. Now, we have the 3D HNCO and HNCA-CO experiments. In the HNCO experiment, magnetization is transferred from HI to NI, and then selectively to the carbonyl C13I-1 via the N15 C13 carbonyl I-1 J coupling, which is a single bond J coupling. Magnetization is transferred back via N15 and then to proton for detection. Thus, only one peak of carbonyl is observed for preceding residue for each NH. In the HN bracket Ca bracket closed CO experiment, the magnetization is transferred from Hi to Ni and then via the Nc alpha J coupling to the C13 alpha I and C13 alpha I minus 1. From there, it is transferred to the C13 carbonyl via the C13 alpha C13 carbonyl J coupling. For detection, the magnetization is transferred back the same way from C13 carbonyl to C13 alpha to N15 and finally to proton. Thus, for each NH group, 2 carbonyl chemical shifts are observed in the spectrum because the coupling between Ni and C alpha I is stronger than that between Ni and C alpha I minus 1. The Hi Ni CO I peak generally ends up being more intense than the Hi Ni CO I minus 1 peak. And here you see the strip plot for segment D12 to V14 for HNCO and HNCA-CO. Let us first look at the HNCO strips which alternate with the HNCA-CO strips. So, let us see the HNCO strip for V14 recorded at N15 chemical shift of 121.95 ppm and proton chemical shift of 6.90 ppm. And as you can see, it shows you a single peak which comes from the carbonyl of the preceding residue and which is glycine 13. And next we see the HNCO strip of glycine 13. Again it shows a single peak which corresponds to the carbonyl of the preceding residue, which is your D12. And similarly in D12 we see the preceding peak which is for proline 11. And in HNCA-CO you can see that there are 2 peaks in every strip. Let us look at the HNCA-CO strip of V14. This strip shows 2 peaks, both of which are the carbonyl chemical shifts. The stronger one is the carbonyl chemical shift of V14 itself, whereas the weaker one is the chemical shift of the preceding residue. And as you can see the match, the weaker peak matches to the adjacent peak in the HNCO strip. And we see the HNCA-CO strip for the next amino acid G13. It shows a strong peak for its own carbonyl and then a weaker peak, and again this weaker peak corresponds to the strong peak, the single peak that is seen in the HNCO experiment of G13 in the adjacent strip, and so on and so forth for the D12 residue. So, with this we come to the end of this module, and now let us summarize. Protein NMR spectroscopy begins with proper identification of a protein target. The protein is expressed and its folding and stability is tested. The protein is isotopically labeled with C13 and N15 isotopes for triple nuclear experiments. More complex labeling schemes are followed where necessary. First, an N15 HSQC experiment is acquired and the dispersion of amide peaks is checked. Then, an HNCA or HNCA-CB experiment is acquired based on the size and properties of the protein. A CBCA bracket CO bracket closed NH experiment is acquired to match with HNCA-CB. HNCO and HN bracket CA bracket closed CO experiments are acquired to obtain the carbonyl chemical shifts and to check the sequential connectivity. These experiments help in backbone sequential assignment through sequential walk. Thank you.